Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Blake Frostad. Blake, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So, looking forward to chopping up with you, Blake. The first question that I want to ask you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
Of all time, I always really looked up to. I kind of started getting into bodybuilding around like 2015, I guess. So that's kind of my era that I kind of look up to. I really liked Dennis Wolf's physique, Jay Cutler, of course. Yeah, I guess that's those two. Those are my top two favorite, I guess, of all time.
Okay. Now, why Dennis Wolf? He doesn't really come up a whole lot. So, is it kind of just the structure thing, or what is it about Dennis?
Yeah, just the big structure, tall dude, just really wide. I liked how his highlights were. I don't think like, necessarily have really highlights, but I liked how his, like popped out a lot. Um, just the physique and just the structure of him.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. I got to see him at the 2000. What year was that? I think 2008 Mr. Olympia, where Jay Cutler got beat. That was kind of when Dennis was just kind of on the come up. But yeah, he definitely has or had an amazing physique. So love that one. All right, Blake, what age did you start lifting weights, and then why did you start lifting weights at that specific age?
I started lifting weights in eighth grade. I was like, what are you in eighth grade? Like 13. I had a training and conditioning class, and I was benching a plate and squatting too, and I thought it was pretty cool. And then ninth grade, the year after that, I didn't do anything. I don't know why. I didn't take I didn't take my PE credit or whatever that year. And then sophomore year, I was like, I need PE credits, and I really liked my training conditioning class that I did. So I was like, I guess I'll do that one again for my PE credit. And then started getting really strong in there, and thought it was pretty cool. And then started going to the gym on my own about 15. So I kind of really got into like bodybuilding at 15. Sort of started training at 13. So
Cool. Was the strength and conditioning class for PE? Did you have some pretty good instruction, or was it just kind of like whatever?
it was just it was just kind of whatever. But there's like upperclassmen that were the eighth grade one was pretty good. The one in high school, their upperclassmen were like that kind of knew what they were doing a little bit and recognized like, hey, you're pretty strong, dude. Like start doing it like this, a little bit better form or whatever. So I think I got to benching two plates in that class, and I think close to squatting three, and then they didn't deadlift in that class. But yeah, then that's when I was like, I'm kind of strong, I guess. For 15, started going to the gym on my own, and then just kind of took off from there. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, and we'll get more into the bodybuilding talk here in a bit. So I like to use that question, Blake, just to kind of transition into my guests' upbringing, their childhood. So talk about where you actually grew up, and then just paint the picture of your upbringing, your childhood a little bit. What sports did you play? What were you kind of like as a young person? Did you like school? Did you not like school? What was your relationship with your parents like? Just kind of talk a little bit about that up to about high school, and then I've got some questions to move us on from there.
so I grew up in a really small town called Pendleton, Oregon. It's a little cowboy town. Not many bodybuilders or like weightlifters or powerlifters or really even gyms there. Um, Growing up, I liked school. I always wanted to be a veterinarian. I really liked animals growing up. Um, my family owns a pork plant in Pendleton. It's called Hill Meat Company. So I worked there from like I think I started working there like summers at like 13. So I was always taught to work hard for what I have and everything. So I think that's why I like bodybuilding, because I can display something I worked for, I guess. Yeah, so then I guess that gets to about high school. I mean, growing up, I played basketball, baseball, soccer as a kid. And then in about sixth grade or fifth grade, I think, yeah, fifth grade, my mom noticed one time, like after football practice, I was limping really bad, and I didn't even know until she said something. So thanks a lot, mom. she's like, "Why are you limping so bad?" And I was like, and then I noticed, I was like, "Oh, I don't know, my feet hurt really bad." And um, since then on, I noticed like anytime I like run a lot or walk or like um, my heels would like kill me. Like I'd almost like need to like be in a wheelchair. Is pretty bad. So I went to like a foot specialist, and he said that my Achilles tendons were like not growing as fast as I was, or they were too short or something. So when I'd walk, like stretch them and it hurt them. And so he recommended I take like a year off of sports to try to like grow into them more. So that was in fifth grade. So that's why I stopped playing sports. And then going in the sixth grade, you know, everyone kind of starts hitting puberty and getting stronger and stuff, you know. So I was in seventh grade, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna, you know, try to play baseball again. That was when I was the best. I was baseball, and I still like after taking a year off, I was like, damn, I kind of suck now. So I just kind of stopped with sports, and then the following years when I got into the weight room, and then just kind of that was my thing.
Okay. What was your relationship like with your parents? Did you have a pretty close relationship or not so much?
Yeah, for the most part, I guess. I mean, not super close. I'm in contact with them a little bit still. I don't talk to them much, but occasionally.
Um, so what was it like, growing up? Basically, you grew up on a hog farm. Is that kind of correct, or?
No, so I grew up in like a normal house or whatever. Just Pendleton's it's just like a little small cowboy town. I mean, it's not like you know old western town. I guess like there's modern stuff there, but
Yeah.
the pork plant that's there, it's like up by like the airport. It's a small town. I mean, but it is only like 10 minutes from my house. But they used to have like live. They used to live kill there, like they had a kill floor, but not since like the 90s or something like that. So it's just a processing plant right now.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I'm
Yeah,
I'm in Iowa, man. So I know I know
we
farming and all of that
that's
in small town. How small of a town did you grow up in? Because I'm in a town of less than 5,000.
okay. I think it's like 15,000, so a little bit bigger than you, but that's where we get our hogs from.
50,000?
15.
Oh, 15. That's not too bad, man.
No, no, it was all right, but yeah, that's where we get our hogs from. Was Iowa, I'm pretty sure. So
Okay, well, yeah, there you go,
yeah.
man. There you go. So when you start talking about that stuff, I mean, I didn't grow up on a farm, nor do I live on a farm now. But when you're from Iowa in the Midwest, you're just whether you grew up on a farm or not, you kind of at least understand that culture. So that's why I
Yeah,
was asking. Okay, so only child, or do you have siblings?
I have an older brother. He's 2.5 years older than me, almost 3 years older than me.
Okay, cool. Okay, how was school for you? Did you like school or not really when you were growing up?
Not really. I wasn't necessarily bad at school, like, but I just didn't really care for it. Um, like I didn't really have to try to like pass high school. Like it was just something that was easy for me, but didn't care for it. Going into high school, I started getting bigger, obviously, you know, like 16, 17, 18, you know, I had a beard in high school and, you know, it's like probably, I was over 200 pounds, you know, I was probably a pretty big high schooler, you know, and, that was obvious to, you know, other kids and whatnot. And they, you know, how the whole bodybuilding thing, everyone thinks it's, you know, gay or whatever and thought it was stupid. And so I got a bunch of shit from kids, you know, all the time. So, um, high school was kind of stupid in that aspect. There's a few kids that were, you know, thought it was cool and whatnot, but you know, uh, I get shit talked to me about it, you know, and picked on about it a little bit, and so it was kind of shitty, but you know, it's whatever. Because now they all message me and yo, can you help me get in shape? You know, so
It's interesting how life kind of comes full circle, how it unfolds sometimes, right, Blake?
yeah.
Yeah. So besides getting into lifting weights in high school then and kind of start getting serious in bodybuilding, Blake, was there any other interests that you had before we kind of wrap up high school talk that you want to share?
Honestly, since 15, I knew this is what I wanted to do. As soon as I got in the gym, I was like, this is my place, you know, and I don't know. It was also a mental thing to get away from stuff, and so just I don't know, just going there, you know, put my headphones on and just doing my thing. That was a real big thing to me. I was like, you know, I would love to do this for the rest of my life, and so um, got into bodybuilding. So I've known I want to do that, I guess, from a young age. Like I said earlier in my life, I wanted to be like a veterinarian, but I didn't like school, so I didn't want to go to 8 years of school, you know. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I knew that I wanted to be a bodybuilder since a young age. So and I'm doing it, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. What's some of the mental stuff you were trying to get away from or deal with in terms of lifting?
Just the whole like kids at school and stuff, and I wasn't super close to my parents, so I just kind of felt like isolated a little bit as a kid, I guess. So just your own inner demons, I guess you could say. Just just getting in your own space.
I got you. I that's yeah, no, that's understandable, man. We all have our own our own struggles for sure. So
Yeah.
okay, so you start lifting weights seriously like at age 15, then you're kind of like this is kind of like what I know I want to do with my life. So why don't you talk about once you graduated high school, how did life unfold from there, Blake?
So in high school, I met my current wife. I met her at 17. Um, right out of high school, we got married and moved to a city away that's a little bit bigger population. It's called Kennewick, Washington, or Tri Cities. If you're from there, you know it's Tri Cities more. So we moved up there, got an apartment, um, started working with Nick Trigili as a coach. At 18, I was going to a Gold's Gym at a place called Beneath the Bar up there. I think it's called Icon Fit now or something. But there were some cool people, the owners of that gym, and they really helped me see kind of my potential a little bit. And we're like the first time I walked in, one of the owners, his name was Matt Helsey. Matt, I go the counter and he's like, "You're like a mini Regan Grimes, dude." I was like, "Trying to be, man." So that gym was very supportive of me and what I did. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where we went after high school. Was a little bit of a bigger city, kind of get out of the small town vibe, and so yeah,
Okay. Was that like one of your main goals as soon as you graduated high school? You're getting out of your hometown?
yeah. Didn't like my hometown.
Yes, it sounds like it, man. It sounds like you were chomping at the bit to kind of move on, which that's great because a lot of people stay in these small towns and they just kind of go through the motions and it
That's
is
all we
what it
do.
is.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nick Trigili,
Hmm.
he's definitely somebody that stirs the pot, we'll say.
A little
But
bit, a little bit.
I check out his current channel every once in a while. I don't get into too much of his stuff because it I'm not really into the gossip stuff and just the nonsense. But he's got his place within the bodybuilding community, and obviously he competed and got his pro card. So why did you decide you were going to work with Nick Trigili at that age? 18, 19 years old.
Um, so let me backtrack a little bit and get to who my first coach was. So when I was uh 16, when I got my license, um, that town I lived in, there's two gyms. There was one called the Rack that was like where all the old people went, and then there was one called Club 24 where like other people went, I guess. So I like to go to the Club 24. It was 24 hours. I like to train late at night, so I kind of go in at night. And with that, they had a few locations around the area. So um, there was a location in a town like 30 minutes away called Hermiston. And then one of my a dude in the gym said, "Go check that gym out. It's a little bit bigger, has more equipment." So I was like, okay. So I would drive to Hermiston every day after school, 30 minutes away to go train at that gym. And because I think the guy told me there's more bodybuilders in that gym or something. And so I was like, okay, well, I want to see bodybuilders. And I started training in there, and I met this guy. His name's Jim Waldo. So he was kind of like my first coach. I still talk to Jim. I'm good friends with Jim. I went in there and I seen him in the mirror, like helping some people pose. And I went up to him and asked him, I was like, I just went up to him and was like, "Hey, could you help me pose? Or like, could you look at me and like see if you like think I'd be like good at bodybuilding?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And uh, took my shirt off, pulled my shorts up a little bit and did some poses for him. And he's like, "Actually, yeah, you actually have a really good structure and physique." And he's like, you know, asking how old I am, and he's like, "Holy shit, you know, you're 16." He's like, "Yeah, you'd be really good." And so he started helping me, and he's the one who helped me do my first show at 17, and my second show actually at 18. Um, so yeah, that was my first coach. And then when I moved to that bigger city, I feel like he was an old power lifter. He wasn't even a bodybuilding coach really, but he knew, you know, he knew the stuff with the old school kind of stuff. So um, and I mean, I won my class in at 17 and um, novice middleweights, and then 18 won my teen classes, second in heavyweights. So he was good, but he just was very limited on his knowledge. I feel I needed someone more like modern kind of knowledge, I guess, or take more of a modern approach to it. So yeah, when I moved to Kennewick, um, I don't even honestly remember how I found Nick. I think I was just looking around at coaches, and he popped up. And you know, when you're 18 and move out of high school on your own, you got a lot of money, so he was on the cheaper side, I feel. So I started talking to him, and I don't know, it looked pretty good, I guess. So that's how I started working with Nick.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you some more questions about Nick, but before we do, let's take a step back. I want to ask you, Blake, what was it about bodybuilding? First of all, when were you actually exposed to actual bodybuilding? Was it through, you know, somebody's YouTube? Was it probably not a magazine because you're 22 years old, but how were you first exposed to bodybuilding? And then what was the draw for you that really pulled you or sucked you into bodybuilding to where like at 15, you're like, this is what I want to do with my life?
So Instagram was mainly the biggest place I saw bodybuilders, I guess. Phil Heath is like, that's when he was kind of in his reign, 2015 era, 2016 era, and I don't know. I just watched him. I was like, man, that's cool. That's cool as fuck. You know, to watch him, you know, weighing on stage and these, you know, these big dudes and training hard in the gym. I used to watch Machiavelli motivation a lot, or like those kind of videos, and like, ah, man, this is cool, dude. I want to do that. You know, I want to be the big nasty bodybuilder. Everyone looks at you like, oh, you're gross and stuff. You know, I wanted to be the big dude. So that's just what gravitated me towards, was just, and the aspect of it's on you to win. Like it's not like a team kind of thing. Like if you mess it up, I mean, that's on you. So you know, playing sports, and as a kid, you know, the whoever'd be up the bat or whatever, be like, oh great, this kid's gonna strike out. But like that, you can control that. But what I, you know, bodybuilding, like I can control this. You know, I'm, if I don't, you know, win on stage just because I messed something up, I wasn't big enough. I wasn't training hard enough in the gym, and so I didn't want anybody to ever be able to say like they train harder than me and that's why they beat me. Like I will always, you know, be the hardest person that trains, and never, you know, miss on my diet, and diets are like, you know, do everything possible to win. You know, so that's kind of what drew me towards it. Was it's something I can control, and I guess, and yeah, so that's how I was exposed to it, was Instagram and YouTube a little bit. I didn't really watch any specific YouTubers, but mostly just Instagram, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't, you know, I talk to people. So I'm 35, and I talk to, you know, probably a lot of the people that are on here, you know, late 20s, early to mid 30s, around my age. So then as soon as I said magazine, I was like, wait a minute, he's 22.
Yeah, no, no
Magazine,
magazines,
no,
man.
not that. That probably was not his era for sure. But
No.
it's cool, man. Okay, so your first competition you did when you were 17.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you talk about that? And then you said your second one was 18. So, I mean, you were competing as obviously as a teenager and in high school. So talk about your first competition. You said that you won, I think, your class, but when you actually competed, because there's a big difference between lifting weights and saying, I'm a bodybuilder, and then actually going through a full prep and actually stepping on stage and doing the thing, right? So how did that first competition go in terms of, did you thoroughly enjoy it? And did that really solidify the fact that it's like, okay, this is what I love and this is what I'm going to continue to pursue?
Um, yeah, I loved it. So, yeah, so I did my first show at 17. So, I was a senior in high school. Um, I remember, you know, being in class, and I had my food. I bought my food out and eating class. And the way our high school was, we had like our main building, and then there was a separate building away. And I remember walking up like in between classes, I'd walk up the hill and like I'd be like, dude, it's killing me, you know. But it wasn't. I don't really remember it being a hard prep. I think it was. I like being on having like a set, you know, thing to do. So, and I had, you know, a meal to eat and just a schedule. I guess it was pretty easy for me. I liked going to the gym. It's not like going to the gym was miserable for me or anything. I mean, it shouldn't be if you're doing this, but I liked going to the gym. You know, I'd wake up, eat my breakfast, bring my food to school, eat my food at school, look forward to getting to the gym after school. So, you know, I'd be like, well, you know, I got to make my food and eat my food. So I have proper nutrition to, you know, go train. So I look forward to it. I guess that prep, I really enjoyed it. Um, yeah, on my class, there was 4 kids in the teens. I was the youngest one. I was 17. There's an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 20-year-old. The 20-year-old got second. I beat him. He was very happy about it. I look pretty. I think I look pretty good at that show, especially for 17. Looking back on it now, like I look at pictures, like damn, I looked pretty good, you know. And then I won novice middleweights against like I think I can't remember if it was 1 or 2, but like grown adults. So I was like, maybe I'm pretty good at this, you know. So I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Going backstage, you know, with my big trophies, and because you know you get the bigger ones for like the overall or the your class win or whatever. And when I was going back, you know, everyone's like, "Damn, you got 2 of those!" And you know, like, what were you doing and stuff. So that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Okay. So your second competition at 18, how did that go?
So I won teams as well. I can't remember how many were in the class. I think it was 2 or 3. I don't remember exactly. And then open heavyweights, I got second. I'm not one to like cry politics or whatever, but it was a smaller show than my coach thought it was. It was in Shelton, Washington, and the dude who did it, um, they were like calling him out by name, like they like knew him. He did it every year for 20 years or whatever. So it's kind of stupid, but I looked good at that show, so it was pretty cool. And I was a heavyweight, so my first show, I was 183 on stage, and then my second show, I think I was like 202. So put some good weight on. So yeah.
Okay. Did you compete natural then in those first 2 competitions?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to get into that, or do you prefer not to talk
Yeah,
about
that's
that?
no, that's fine. That's totally fine with me.
Okay.
I like, yeah.
Okay. I just want to be respectful because we don't get into that talk unless it's brought up. But I wanted to ask you that because obviously starting at 17 is very young. And
Mhm.
I always want to try to provide, some takeaways to the listeners and to people watching this, especially, the younger people. So why don't you talk about as much as you want, Blake, about, starting to use PEDs then as a teenager. Looking back, is that something that you would do all over again, or you suggest maybe that's something that people should maybe wait a little bit longer before they would move in that direction? What's your take on that?
So personally, I would do it all over again because I love what I do. Would I recommend people doing it at that age? Hell no. I don't. And even my age now, I still think I'm too young to be on them. But I knew what I wanted to do with my life since that age, and I'm happy with the decisions I made and how I'm doing in bodybuilding. I think I have a big future and career ahead of me. So I'm happy with how I've done it, but I wouldn't recommend people starting, especially at 17 and probably not even 22 either. I did, let's see, I did my first cycle April 2017, just like test and DECA. And then I did a bulk, and then I did a cutting cycle, and then I did that show in like no October 2017. So like I just did like a bulk and a cut. Yeah, I don't. Even kids now are, I guess, I'm a kid. People will come up to me, and start talking about, I want to do this and I want to do that, and I always tell people like, do you want to be a professional bodybuilder? Do you want to be a top strength athlete in the world? And if you can't honestly say yes to that, then no, I don't really recommend you do them at all. I think you can look great natural. I looked great natural. I got accused of being on stuff when I was 16 and 17 before I even started things. Like I post on Reddit, you know, Reddit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That, you know, okay, so you know that place is a shit show. um, yeah, I post on Reddit and the bodybuilding sub and a few others like Progress or whatnot, and you know, I don't know if they're just man, I looked better than they did it, you know, 16 and 17, but be like, there's no way you're natural. Look at your delts, they're captain, you know. I'd be like, I am, and they, you know, downvote me to hell, and it's like, dude, it's but then that's another way I guess I knew I had a probably pretty decent physique because I looked the way I did natural, and people were telling me like you got to be on stuff, and I wasn't. So, but yeah,
Um, so I guess you know, how did you get the information to start taking you know, PEDs at 17? Because you know that's kind of the wild west when you start moving in that direction in terms of trying to find legit info.
that's my coach that I met in Hermiston. He that's saying he was an old powerlifter, so he knew the basics, you know, about it. So yeah, he's who I got my information on what to do from, and I mean it seemed to work pretty well for me. It was just, you know, a basic cycle, which is I think your first one should be just, you know, simple like I don't remember what 500 tests, 400 deca, something like that, just something simple. But it got me big, you know. I was over 200 pounds at 17, so it worked. But yeah, I've had good um information and knowledge on it since the beginning, which I'm very thankful for. I didn't get like fake stuff and get all messed up, you know. So yeah, I'm very thankful for that. So I've had good information from the beginning.
Okay. Okay. So the last question about that, and then we're going to move on. But again, just trying to give some value to everybody that's watching, listening, in terms of maybe just, you know, since you started your first cycle at 17, now you're 22. Have you learned some things in terms of maybe taking care of your health, or maybe some precautionary things over the last several years that maybe you would be willing to share with us, just to, again, kind of like focus more on the health side of things as you are, you know, taking cycles for bodybuilding?
Of course, yeah, I think blood work is very important to do. I did it at 17, and should I have probably, but I'm okay that I didn't. I get blood work pretty regularly, like every like 3 to 5 months right now, and always make sure that those are okay. And they have been so far. I haven't had any health complications at all. But yeah, I recommend anybody who's looking to start, especially like go get your blood work done, see where you're at. If you're, you know, liver enzymes are like terrible, you know, clean your diet up, or you know, just take care of your general well-being first, and then you can look into getting onto PEDs. And then especially when you're on PEDs, make sure you're eating correctly and, you know, taking health supplements and getting your blood work done and making sure things are in the ranges that they should be.
Okay. All right. So let's pick back up where we left off with Nick Trigili. So at what age did you hire him? 19, 20?
18.
18. Okay. So that was after your second competition?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you talk about how long did you have him as your coach? Did you compete with him? How did all that go?
So I was with Nick from 18 until shoot, how was I with him? I think I was with him about 2 years. I just wanted to get bigger, and so I didn't compete with him, but he got me bigger, you know. I think I got up to around 240. Um, when I was, yeah, that sounds about right. 240 when I was 20. And then I was wanting to do a new show or another show, and I don't know what how you feel about Nick Trigili. I know a lot of people have their opinions about him. When I was it was getting toward because I just paid for like a year in advance or whatever. So when it was getting towards the end of the year, he kind of like stopped replying to me a little bit and stopped, you know, really being on it like that, like he was. So I was like, okay, well maybe I should look for a different coach. So after the year, I didn't pay him again because he wasn't really talking to me. So I kept bulking on my own for a little bit, and then I started working with Dave Palumbo
Oh, okay.
at 21. Yeah, 21. Started working with David 21. Um, I was gonna prep myself, so that's when I did Emerald Cup and show Utah Cup in 2021. I was gonna try to prep myself for one of them to see how I did, and then I got to about like I think 5 or 6 weeks out, and I just like got in my head, and I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna do it for peak week. I got myself lean, like I think I could do it, and I just wasn't entirely sure. And then I was talking to John Efford,
He's been on the
Giovanni,
podcast. Yeah.
yeah. I was talking to him on a Snapchat and asking him what he thought. And he's like, hire Dave. So to help you out with that. So I did hire Dave. Um, Dave was great. I have a really cool story about Dave if you want me to tell it now or later.
Go for it right now, man. Would love to hear it.
Okay. Okay. So I did Utah Cup in I think it was March. And that was when Dave had his throat cancer thing. I don't know if you know that about Dave. Um, and Friday night he had his throat cancer surgery, and we were like getting the plan. And he was messaging me the whole time, like leaving like that. He was on it, and Friday night we're trying to get the game plan together. It's like, so what do you want me to do in the morning? Because I wasn't really expecting him to get right with me, which was fine because he's about to have throat surgery. Like late at night, I think, because he's on the East Coast and I'm West Coast, and so he's like, probably do this, but we'll see. Send me pictures in the morning. And I was like, okay, well, he's probably not going to get to him. So I'll probably just fall out, So um, I think his surgery was like at like 8 p.m. his time or something. So I wake up at like 5 a.m. my time. So like 2 a.m. over there, sending pictures like a minute later. Oh, you look great. Do this, do this, do this. I was like, wow, dude, that was super cool. So I love Dave for that. That was very cool of him to be on it like that. And it's not like I was some big like top pro with the Olympia or anything. It was some whoever at little local whatever show. So I thought that was really cool of Dave to do that.
Yeah. Is he your coach currently then, Blake?
No, not currently. So when I moved to Las Vegas, I kind of wanted to coach in person. No knock on Dave. Like Dave was great. I loved Dave, but I just kind of wanted to in person. And I'm at the Dragon's Lair, so there's lots of coaches here. So I'm working with Justin Dees currently. I'm not sure if you know who he is.
Yep, I do.
Okay, yeah. So working with him right now. But yeah, I love Dave. Dave was a great coach for anybody listening. I think Dave would be a great coach to go with for everybody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the kind of thing now, man. I mean, the coaching realm is so saturated. I mean, Dave Palumbo, like when I was, your age, he was like, on muscular development, and he was doing like all the post-show interviews and pre-show interviews, and him and John Romano, man, they were rock stars.
Yeah.
And then he left, they left, and started RX, and he was big time, and obviously big time NPC bodybuilder back in the 90s. But man, your age group, there's so many coaches out there. Most of them probably don't even know who Dave Palumbo is. So, but for sure, probably you could say a legend in his own right in terms of coaching and things like that. And I know John Effer spoke very highly of Dave when he was on the podcast as well. So super cool, man. Okay, so so you it sounds like you took 2 years off after your first couple of shows, and then when have you stepped back on stage after those first two competitions when you were a teenager?
So it was 2021. So I did my last show 2018. Yeah, I was 18, 2018. And then I did no, it was 2019. Right before 2019. 2021 I competed at Utah Cup, and then I did Emerald Cup also 2021, and both of those shows were with Dave. And then Emerald Cup 2021. Utah show I did first. I was only super heavy, but first super heavies, and then the heavyweight took the overall, and then Emerald Cup I got fourth in the heavyweights, and then Dave wanted me to try classic too, because he's like, you got kind of a classic look, so just see how you do, see what the judges like you. And then I got like seventh, but there was like 40 competitors, so it's just kind of cool actually. But yeah, I got fourth in heavyweights, and Emerald Cup that year is where I met Stuart Sutherland. So we're good friends now. We stay in touch a lot. He was in Vegas for USA's when he just won Mr. USA, and um, went to go watch him, and he stayed at my house afterwards after the show, and we went and got sushi. So good friends with Stuart too. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, he's that's an understatement, man. He's an awesome dude. Man. He's an awesome
Yeah,
dude. Very very unique. I'll just say that, but definitely
he is very unique. Yeah,
a breath of fresh air within the bodybuilding community because he doesn't take himself too serious, man.
no.
He's very easygoing and fun. He's been on here 2-3 times. I absolutely enjoyed my conversation with him. Are you now his good friend Ryan Foster just moved down to Arizona
Mm-hmm.
to live with Stuart? Are you friends with Ryan then too or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I followed Ryan for a while. I don't think he knew who I was, but when he came to the Dragons Lair, he came up. I worked the front desk of the Dragons Lair too, and he came up and I was like, "You're Ryan Foster, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, do I know you?" And I was like, I told him who I was, and the area I'm from, I know Stuart, and so we clicked there, and we're friends now. Um, I think he actually moved back to Oregon. I think he moved back to Troutdale or to be at O'Malley's. Not sure why. He said he just wasn't feeling Arizona really.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can't keep track of those guys. I know Stuart's still in Arizona though, right?
Yeah, Stewart's still in
Okay.
Arizona. Yeah,
Okay.
I wish he'd move over here to Vegas, but
Yeah.
his job's in Arizona. So
Okay. Now Justin Shire's up there in Oregon too. Have you ever connected with him or not?
I have not, but I like Justin Shire's physique, and he seems like a cool dude. So I think he's a cool dude.
Okay, cool. All right. So what's so you competed last year in 2021. So and then at some point you moved down to Vegas. So first of all, when did you move to Las Vegas,
So
Blake?
I'm last May, so May 2021, May 2021. So like yeah, like right after Emerald. Um, moved down here. My wife is originally from this area, so she wanted to come back, and then I wanted to get into more of a bodybuilding scene because where we're at wasn't super huge into bodybuilding. So it's kind of a win-win for both of us. She while we lived in Oregon, I that was when the whole COVID thing happened, so my family needed help at the plant, so I helped them out there, and then while I was there, my wife was able to go to a cosmetology school, so she did that kind of while I worked and focused on her thing, and then we moved down to Vegas, and she's like, "All right, well, I want to be the one to kind of work more while you focus on your bodybuilding career." So kind of a cool dynamic that we have. So just trying to get my pro card now down here.
Yeah. Okay. So why? Okay. I guess you said your wife's originally from that area. That's why you moved to Vegas, and then obviously the
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding scene. So
Mm-hmm.
how? I mean, we see all the social media in terms of the Dragon's Lair, and I mean, Jay Cutler and Dennis Wolf and Milos, and the who's who is in and out of there on a regular basis, as I see through social media. So, and obviously Flex himself. But what's it been like being there? You said you work the front desk, so you literally have a front row seat to all these pros and all these people from around the world that are coming. I mean, what has it done for you? This is what I want to, my main question, Blake. What has it done for you personally to be in a bodybuilding community like the Dragon's Lair?
Um, I feel like I'm growing and like just thriving in an environment like I never have. I'm finally in an environment that's very like accepting of what I do and very supportive. And when everyone around you is like a top pro and training hard and working towards something, it's very motivating and makes you really like more not more disciplined, I guess, but just want to stay disciplined. And really, be on your stuff and go in there to train hard and not, fart around and then play on your phone the whole time. It's an environment like no other. It's Flex calls it the home of champions. It's on the wall, and I really think it is. Anybody that comes out of there, and Andrew Jacks was training there for a little bit, and he's doing great. And it's a whole different environment. It's a whole different ball game in there. Just the people that are around, the information that's in there. It's a big family. It really is. Like Andrew's who he is, and he knows who I am. He say hi to me, and ask me to open the posing room, and we talk a little bit. And Regan Grimes, when he moved down to Vegas, he went in there, and I'm friends with Regan now, so that's pretty cool. Jay, I knew from Utah Cup when I did that, and when I moved down here, he remembered me, which was pretty cool. So I know Jay and his cameraman Dave and Flex, and yeah, it's pretty crazy that I know all those guys and can say I'm acquaintances with, friends with them. Because I watched all of them growing up. Regan was someone I really looked up to growing up. I feel like we have somewhat similar physiques, and tall, big structure, like 6 foot. So then, like we're friends, we follow each other on social media, message each other and stuff. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, the environment there is definitely not like another I've been in. So very cool.
Was it when you first moved there, was it a little intimidating being around all those top athletes and coaches, or not really?
For me personally, because yeah, I got in there and I just like sat in the bathroom for like 20 minutes. Was like, dude, I don't belong in here. I was like, I can't train in here, man. I was like, holy crap, dude, this is crazy. And went out, and the first person I talked to was do you know who Joe Sullivan is?
I've heard the name, not right off the top of my head.
He's like a top powerlifter right now. He just did like he broke his own all-time world record squat for the 220 weight class. He was the first person I talked to in there. He kind of made me feel a little more comfortable. Um, I was taking progress pictures for Dave over by the mirrors or whatever, and I'm a real hairy dude, so he was telling me when I had my shirt off, he's like, if you shave all that hair off, you lose about like 5% body fat look. And so got to know him. He was the first person I talked to, and he kind of made me feel a little bit more welcomed. And then, well, especially after I realized who he was, like, holy shit, this dude's just talking to me. So at first, very intimidating, but to anybody who wants to go there, don't be intimidated. Everybody in there is very friendly. It's bodybuilders, and I mean, I'll make you feel at home, and especially anybody else in there, everybody's really friendly and informative and cool.
Yeah. When you first got there, who was the first person that you saw and you kind of maybe had a conversation with that you were just kind of like, I mean, maybe a little bit awestruck or starstruck? You're like, I can't believe I'm talking to this person. Who was that kind of that first person for you?
Probably Seth Shaw. Do you know who Seth Shaw is?
Yeah.
Slank.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast. He's
Oh,
another one of
okay.
those interesting dudes.
He's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I followed him for a while, and I always thought he was really funny. And I saw him in the gym, and I was like, telling my wife, I was like, "Holy shit, there's Seth!" And mustered up the courage to go say hi to him and ask him for a picture. And we're actually good friends now too. Me and Slankard. He's interesting, but I like him a lot. He's funny. He's a good dude. Yeah.
When he was on the podcast, I don't know. I think he was out. He told me, I don't know if it was like a rave or some sort of like party the night before. And it was, it was probably like, it was like, I don't know, maybe it was mid morning or early afternoon, your guys' time. But he was he was definitely under the influence, I think, still of something.
Yeah.
He held it together for the 45 minutes or the hour that we chatted. So it was all good. But definitely a unique character, right?
Yeah, he is. He is. Yeah, he is.
Okay, so let's get back into kind of bodybuilding talk for you specifically then, Blake. So you're down in Vegas. Sounds like you've integrated very well. Got Justin D's coaching you. So after your last competition last year, what was the game plan going forward? Did you compete this year? Just talk about what the future holds for you in terms of the last time you stepped off a stage last year. What's happened for you this year?
So this year in April, I did a show with Justin. Justin prepped me. I did the Jay Cutler Classic in April. Got first in super heavies, and then second in or I guess you don't really get second, but it was a close overall with do you know Jason Coley?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, I'm good friends with Jason too. Yeah, me and Jason battled out in the overall. He ended up taking it, but it was cool. It's cool to be up there with a friend, So did that show. Feedback from the judges. I seem to be a little bit sharper from the back. I seem to get peeled glutes, but I've always been told that it's just like a kind of a muscle maturity thing. It'll just come with time. So every time I've chipped down and cut down, I've gotten better every time. So I think this year coming up, I'm really going to pull in a good look. Should be a little bit sharper from the back. I'm a lot bigger right now, so I cut for the Cutler Classic from like high 240s, low to like I think I was barely teetering 250. I walked on stage at 230. Right now I'm like 265 morning weight, and I'm leaner than I was at 250 by like a lot. So should have a little bit of size added on me, and if I can really bring in the conditioning, I feel like I could have a pretty good year next year.
Okay. So what's your plan then going into 2023, Blake?
I thinking I want to do USA's for sure. I was thinking about doing maybe like a muscle contest like a few weeks before, just kind of for a warm up show and get a little bit of judges' feedback. So they like to see me at USA's. Um, yeah, so that's the plan for now. Just kind of playing it by ear, of course, but that's the plan for now. So like I said, I'm 265. It's October, so I need to probably start cutting around March-ish. So 265 was my goal, and I hit that a little a little early. I've been growing pretty quick, so I don't know, or I don't know if I've been putting on like 5 pounds a month, which is pretty crazy. But if I can keep going at this rate, that'd be cool. I think I'm gonna probably slow down a little bit, but if I could see, maybe 270, 275 ish. I mean, weight doesn't matter, but just for a kind of a reference point. But if I could see around somewhere around there before around March ish, I feel like I'd be in a pretty good spot. If I could be like 240-ish peeled on stage, I feel like we do pretty good. Be pretty competitive for a pro card.
Okay. And that's your goal then at USA's next year would be to get that IFBB pro card.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Following Stewart's
Yeah.
Stewart's path.
One and done, right? USA's was his
Mm-hmm.
first pro qualifier,
First
wasn't it?
national. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah. I would say so. Yeah, there's several guys I've had on the podcast that turned pro this year. They're just one and done, man. And the light heavy for USA's, he's 23.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of his name.
Brandon
Yeah, Brandon.
Laird,
Who?
something like that. Brandon Laird or
Yeah,
Laird or something like
Brandon Laird. Yeah. If
that.
Brandon's listening to this, sorry, Brandon. There's so many
Yeah.
names, man. I talked to so many people, but yeah, I mean, that was his first pro qualifier. He's 23, turned pro, and just structure. I mean, that's the thing. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
he was dialed in outside of just his structure, but I think that's kind of like one of your strengths, right? I mean, is that kind of the compliments that you've
Mm-hmm.
gotten through the years since day one? Is you've got the structure to take this as far as you want it, Blake?
Yeah, that's what I've been told coming up is the way my structure is like very good. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What's besides just getting more jacked? What are some areas on your physique that you are really trying to focus on in terms of bringing up before you step back on stage?
I really need to bring up my hamstrings a little bit. They're not like bad per se, but my quads are just so like dominant that it makes my hamstrings look a little bit smaller from the back. They're pretty good from the side. I seem to try to get like that like thick meaty look from the back, I guess. And then just back density, but I just been told it's just a time thing, really. That every single judge's like feedback that I've asked after every show is they're literally just say time, just muscle maturity and time. That's all you need. Like I don't really have any like glaring weak points is what I've been told, and what I personally don't think I do either. Have any like super like, oh man, his arms are like don't match him at all. So I think everything's very symmetrical, and that's kind of where I think my physique will do well is my structure and my symmetry, and um, being a super heavy is it's kind of hard. You gotta especially with my like I got a big frame to fill out, and it's not quite filled out yet, but uh being 6 foot and as young as I am, there could be some big dudes in the super heavyweights, but I feel like my structure and my symmetry could carry me a pretty far ways.
Yeah. Cool, man. Okay, so how's it been working with Justin Dees and actually having a coach again in person, kind of like what you wanted?
It's great. It's nice to have somebody that can, see me in the gym. He's the manager at the Dragon's Lair also. So he's in the gym, practically every day, and will see me training, and sees me doing something, he, correct me a little bit on something, or look at me posing in person versus pictures. You can only see so much through a video and a picture. So him seeing me, on show day and saying, okay, you need a little bit more carbs, or have a little bit of water, or whatever. It was a lot. It made me feel a lot more confident being able to have somebody have eyes on me in person, saying like, yes, you look good, like, just, pump up and, you whatever. So yeah, I like having someone in person. He's a great coach.
Mm. Okay, so training. I watched some of your videos on Instagram, and I would say you train pretty heavy. So
Yeah.
talk about your training philosophy, your training style, and has it changed or evolved since you started when you were a teenager? If so, how so?
So, my original coach, Jim, like I said, he was a power lifter. So he kind of instilled in me, like, train heavy, don't, so I've always had that in me. Like, I like to train heavy. I personally think I grow very well from training heavy. I think my body responds to it well. Um, my training has definitely changed over the years. When you're 18, you're just, kind of throwing weights around the gym, like, obviously I knew my muscle connection and whatnot, but I feel it's obviously enhanced throughout the years. So I'm really able to focus on a good contraction now and try to do that. But the way I like to train is I'll warm up. I like to do like a big heavy compound movement, like, a big bench or big squat, um, and do that for three heavy sets, and then do like a big heavy compound for three heavy sets, and then after that do more kind of like hypertrophy style training afterwards. So that's how I've kind of was brought up, and it's been making me grow very well so far. So that's how I like to train.
Has anybody ever told you to stop barbell benching or not?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people do. I've been doing dumbbells the past few weeks because, I know that barbell benching isn't the smartest thing to do. I know it's very risky, but it's fun. I like having fun in the gym, and I warm up and I don't ever hit anything that I know I can't hit for, like 6 reps. So I feel like that's somewhat safe. I mean, maybe maybe it's not still, but I haven't had any problems, and I think it's fun. So
If you're having fun, man, and it's your life, it's your body. I just know, there's a lot of people out there that try to shy away from a lot of barbell
yeah.
movements for the simple fact of pec tears and things like that. But it is what it is, man. So what is your ultimate? We're gonna start wrapping up here, Blake. But what's your ultimate bodybuilding goal competitively before you would walk away from the stage?
Um, at the risk of sounding, cocky and arrogant, I want to be Mr. Olympia, and I really do believe that I could one day with the structure that I have. Um, I'm 22. I don't think there's a lot of people my age that are as far along as I am. As long as I keep my health in check and slowly, keep adding muscle throughout the years, I really think I could be up there on the Olympia stage and be competitive for the win. Depending upon, who's coming up in the scene and whatnot. But ultimately, that's my goal. I mean, I wouldn't be saying I'm training to lose, So I mean, so I mean that is my goal. I'll just say it.
Yeah. So if you let's say you get your pro card next July at USA's, there's a lot of pro shows, around that time. Obviously, I know you'll consult with Justin and all that, but just for the sake of having a fun conversation or having a fun idea right now, uh, would you like to have a pro level, pro ready physique, just like we were talking about Stuart? He did the same thing. If you get your pro card at USA's next year, would you like to be able to step on a pro stage at some point, maybe later that year in 2023?
Yeah. So um, a lot of people do this, and I feel a lot of people do get their pro card and don't have a pro physique yet. I want to have a pro physique and be able to be competitive on a pro stage when I get my pro card. So if the judges don't think I'm ready to be competitive on a pro stage in July, then I don't want to get my pro card. I'd like to build a pro physique first, and I think next year I can really bring one, or one that could be close to competitive, or maybe one more off season away from being really doing some damage on a pro stage. But yeah, I'd like to do a pro show next year. I know Stewart did Tampa after USA's. I think it's the week after. So maybe follow him and do that too. Maybe if the judges, just depending on their feedback, if I think I need to get bigger, maybe just um, try a show maybe late in December. Maybe do like Legions in Reno. That they just did here. Maybe grow a little bit more and try to dial in a little bit more for Reno. But yeah, I'd like to compete on a pro stage next year, and I think I could do it.
Yeah. What do you feel like what's the biggest thing up to this point, from, 17 to 22, what's the biggest thing you feel like bodybuilding has kind of, taught you? And I don't want, discipline or whatever. We know all that stuff, right? I
Yeah.
want to go a little bit deeper with you, and I want you to go a little bit deeper with us. Like, outside of the discipline and structure and kind of the normal typical bodybuilding stuff that we all get from bodybuilding, like life wise, is there something that bodybuilding's really taught you about life that you're like, man, if I wasn't lifting weights, if I wasn't prepping, if I wasn't living this bodybuilding lifestyle, I probably wouldn't have learned this in terms of life?
I think it's really made me think about mental health a lot. Um, as I'm sure you know, bodybuilders are very mentally, not in the best place. And I think it kind of made me realize that, and hold myself accountable for, certain things that I do and ways that I act, and um, being married at a young age as well. It's made me value just family, and see that there's life other than bodybuilding, which I think a lot of people struggle to realize. Your health is very important. Your mental health is very important. If I just feel like if I didn't have bodybuilding, I wouldn't have really learned that, and would have just been doing whatever. I feel like it made me kind of learn who I am as a person more, if that makes sense. I don't really know exactly what I'm trying to say, but it made me value myself, I guess I could say, and my emotions and my thoughts. And I think that a lot of people need to realize that their feelings are valid, and figure out why you're feeling certain ways. If you're going to the gym, and you're depressed, like, don't just bury it away in the gym. Like, figure out why mentally why you're like that. And I don't know. I feel like that's something I've taken away from it is mental health, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's given you an identity, right? It's given you something to say, this is Blake, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I live, right? This is what I breathe.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just thinking about this the other night. I honestly do not know what I would be doing if I was in bodybuilding. I don't know. Um, I have no idea what I'd be doing. Like, I like cars, but like, I don't know if I'd necessarily be like a race car driver or anything. But I like I said, I knew from a young age this is for me, and I honestly can't see myself doing anything else. And I do what I love, and I'm very thankful and grateful that I'm able to do this.
Mm-hmm. For sure, man. How do you manage, or do you not manage social media? What's that look like for you in terms of, I mean, do you kind of draw the line for yourself, or are you on there a lot? Do you pay attention to other guys on there? What, just talk about that, because I think social media, the more that it's studied, and we're starting to see studies come out, like social media and being behind a screen, specifically our smartphones all day, it ties into mental health big time. So how do you use social media? How do you manage it if you do? Talk about that for a minute, Blake.
Social media, I don't particularly love. I wish kind of it almost wasn't a thing. I feel like people really fixate on looking at other people, and I think this is why I probably am the way I am. I looked at people like Phil Heath, and I was like, man, I gotta look like that. I gotta look like that. I'm not big enough. And I'm not big enough. I don't look good enough. Like, I did that, and I mean, was it good for me? Probably not. I mean, it got me where I am, and I'm happy with where I am. Like I said, but other people, I think it's very it could be very toxic to people's mental health, especially people that don't have, like, I'd say I have pretty good genetics for bodybuilding. So, but the guy next to me or whatever might not. And I tell people this all the time: no matter what I'm doing, what drugs I'm doing, what training I'm doing, what food I'm eating, you'll never look the way I do, just because that's genetically not how you're supposed to be. So if so and so sees that, oh, he's eating this and doing this and doing this, well, why am I not looking like that? And they feel down on themselves. Like, it's I think people need to be more transparent on social media. And another thing with my age group, it's I hate the way my age group is on social media and TikTok. You know, like I'm probably one of the bigger 22-year-olds in the world, you know, and you know, seeing these TikTok kids, you know, in the gym just being little assholes and you know taking their shirts off and you know talking shit to people and you know thinking they're like you know better than everybody and everyone's a beta because they're not in the gym and whatever. It's like people got other lives in bodybuilding, dude. Like people want to be doctors, people want to be engineers. You don't got to put people down for not being aesthetic and having abs and whatever. You know, it's like I think it's insane how social media has fitness has almost become like a mainstream thing and bodybuilding not so much, but I guess just fitness and bodybuilding kind of go together a little bit. So you know what I'm saying? I think how glorified, especially and another thing is steroids. I think the way that kids my age especially glorify steroids online is insane and it drives me nuts. And I wish I had a platform to talk more about the effects of it and why people shouldn't be doing it rather than why you should be doing it. You know, there's people that say like, oh, you're not gonna, you know, you're a beta, you're not gonna get any girls if you're not on all this training and stuff. And it's like, you know, you look in the comment section and it's a bunch of kids that are 16, 17 and like saying like, oh, well, where do you get it? Where do you get it? I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. And it's like they don't understand what it's going to do to them. And that even if they take it, it's not going to take them to where they think it's going to take them. You know, I didn't know I was going to be able to get this big at 17. Maybe I would have had terrible genetics for bodybuilding and I would have, you know, you don't know. And I think you need to, you know, reach a certain. That's why I don't recommend people starting young. Get, you know, be in the gym for a few years and get a good amount of muscle under you, see how you're looking, and then make a decision from there. But that's kind of getting off topic, I guess. Social media, I don't particularly love it. I'm not huge on social media. I don't know if you saw that Kenny KO video of me or not.
What's that?
That Kenny KO video, did you see that of me?
I did not.
Do you know who Kenny KO is?
I've heard of him, but not
He
specific.
goes up to people and asks them if they're natural or not. And he came up to me in the gym and asked me if I was natty or not. And I was like, what do you think, bro? I'm 22. And then, you know, I shave my head, but I'm going bald. But it's just a family thing. But people don't get that. I got a beard and I'm hairy, you know, and he posted that video and it got like, you know, 12 million views on TikTok and a ton of views all over Instagram and everything. And everyone's, you know, shit talking me in the comments saying I look old and whatever. Where was I going with this? um Shoot, what was I saying?
Well, you're just talking about, you know, the Kenny KO thing, but just you were talking about the social media and just, you know, kind of the nonsense of it, I guess, you know.
Yeah. So, oh, okay, yeah. So the Kenny KO video, like, it got, you know, people don't believe I'm 22 or whatever, and you know, people are messaging me, you know, asking like, how do I look like that? How can I look like that? And it was hard to not have a huge platform and tell people like you know you don't really want to try to look like me, you know. It's not something to, you know, really get into, you know, steroids and stuff, but you know all those kids were commenting on that video, you know, like, oh, he's huge, you know, I want to look like him. And you know, I'm going to start, you know, steroids now, and you know I want to, you know, do this and that. And it's like it was hard for all those to see all those comments and not be able to tell those kids like, don't don't do that, like. And you know, they just, other kids encourage it, and other, you know, adults encourage it, people in the industry, you know, they just want to get money. And so yeah, go ahead and do it, you know, give me your money, I'll coach you, and you know, go to this guy to get your drugs, and it's, you know, really them or whatever. And I don't know, I just think social media is not headed in the right direction with the fitness community especially.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say a whole lot, but what I do want to say is that, you know, I think, you know, the biggest message I think we need to put out there as a bodybuilding community. And you know, I'm you know, a pro in a natural organization. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, you know, drug-free natural bodybuilding is boring. Okay. That's just the facts. Like I mean, I see now there every once in a while on Instagram, I'll see a natural like bodybuilder. And I'm like, okay, like you've got genetics or genetics. You're born with your genetics. Like whether you take steroids or not, like somebody can be like genetically a freak and be natural, or they can be genetically a freak and be on PEDs, right? But the thing that I think as a whole, for those of us who love bodybuilding, I think the message that we really need to make clear to people is that when you take steroids, when you take PEDs, that is a lifelong choice and decision that you're making that's going to affect you for the rest of your life, especially if you really get into those cycles for long term. Like I just wish more people would be very clear. The people that are taking steroids, the people that are taking PEDs, people that are bodybuilders that are enhanced. I wish they would just make it clear to everybody, especially the young kids, because dude, maybe you were different, but when I was a teenager, man, like, dude, I didn't know nothing about nothing. I still at 35, I barely know anything. The older I get, the more I realize I don't know. And that's why I just want more people to say, hey, this is what you need to think about long term, because when we're teenagers and when we're in our early 20s and even maybe up into our early 30s, a lot of us aren't thinking long term. You know what I mean, Blake? And we need people that we can look up to and we respect, like Olympians and top IFBB pros and top NPC athletes and all that stuff, saying, hey, think about these things before you start taking steroids, because these are the long-term ramifications. We see the heart attacks. We see, people can't have kids. And then once you have females start taking PEDs, man, that's a whole nother monster. And I just truly believe at the bottom of my heart, because I love bodybuilding, I'm passionate about it, obviously. But I just believe deep down in my heart, so many people are taking steroids and PEDs and they don't have a clue what they're doing or the long-term ramifications. Is that fair to say?
100%. I totally, I 100% say that. And people don't realize the can of worms they're opening. You got to do blood work and PCTs and get heart scans and this and that and the other thing. And when you're the whole kids thing, and the people don't look long term. They're so, I want to look good right now. I want to look good right now. I want to. And that's another, I guess, looking back to social media, like instant gratification. You can post a picture and get instant likes, and so people are like, I want it now, I want it now. So, steroids get you faster. I want it now, I want it now, I want it now. Like you're a natural pro, you said. So, like, you look great natural, dude. Like, you can look fantastic natural. Take your time. It doesn't have to be right now. Like, do you know Derek Joe?
I don't.
I think he just won like some natural division natural Mr. Olympia thing earlier this year, and he turns to the Dragon's Lair. That dude's freaking huge, and he's shredded, and he looks freaking incredible. And like, that's what all the kids on TikTok, like, I would assert, or Instagram or whatever, kids my age, like, be like, yeah, that guy's huge and that guy's shredded, I want to look like that. It's like, you can just take your freaking time. You don't gotta, like I said, if you want to be a professional bodybuilder or strength athlete, sure, go ahead. But if you just want to look good, you can look great natural. You don't gotta be on stuff because it's terrible for you, and people don't realize the effects it has on your heart and your liver and your kidneys and literally everything, and neurotoxins in the brain. It's it clouds your brain and gives you anxiety and gives you even more body dysmorphia. People don't, they think it's just, I'm just taking a shot. No, it's like, you're changing your body chemistry, you're changing everything, and it's more to take in than people realize. And even me personally, I don't know everything that it's doing to me. I have a good general knowledge of it, I feel like, but like people don't understand, even scientists, like, they don't understand everything that does. We don't know long term what it's going to do. Like, these huge heavy cycles that dudes are running out, people are like, oh, Arnold's fine. It's like, yeah, well, Arnold probably took like a pea size versus the huge giant stuff people take nowadays. So Big Ramy, we don't know what Big Ramy's going to look like in 30 years, if he'll even make it 30 years. People don't know that, and they're taking all this stuff, trend and whatever else. It's like, why are you taking trend, dude? You know how terrible it is for you. It's like, people don't get it, and it's just so glorified on social media that it's killing kids. It's killing people.
It is. And you had a great point. It's the instant gratification. And I've had so many pros on here, so many top level NPC athletes, and they all say it starts with the training, it starts with the nutrition, it starts with the sleep, and you need to lay a foundation. I've had so many guys come on here that started, you know, maybe not quite as young as you, but early 20s. And a lot of them say, I wish I didn't start that young. I wish I would have trained a few more years. So if people are actually listening and they want to listen, they want to learn, you know, they should maybe open up their ears, because when you do hear these pros talk about this stuff and these top NPC athletes, they are saying it's the training, it's the eating, it's the sleeping. Get the lifestyle in check for several years, and then you can start thinking about, you know, moving into the enhanced side. I think of Jose Raymond. He got his pro card like, I don't know, 5-6 times. He turned it down. He was natural all the way up, I think he said, until maybe like 33 or 34. And that's when he crossed over into the enhanced. And that's really, he had that foundation. He had that grainy, freaky look already. And then the PEDs obviously just enhanced that, and he had an amazing career. But thank you, Blake, for just chatting about that a little bit, man, because I want people to hear this and watch this, and I want them to say, hey, like, maybe I should take a step back and think about this, because it's important, right? So let's wrap it up, Blake. Before I do a quick outro, man, I'm just going to turn it back over to you. Any shout outs, any final thoughts, any final words that you have, any sponsors, anything that you want to leave with us? Give us your Instagram as well. The platform's yours. When you're done, I'll do a quick outro, and that'll be a wrap, my man.
Okay. My Instagram is just Blake Frostad. I mean, shout out to you for having me on. Thanks. I appreciate you having me on. You know, Dragon's Lair is a great gym. If you ever looking to have a good gym to come train out for the weekend or something, you know, come out to Las Vegas and train. You probably see me there working the front desk, you know, say what's up. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Thanks for having me on.
Now, do you do any type of coaching or training like at the Dragon's Lair, or are you just kind of working in the gym, doing other stuff at this time?
I do a little bit of online coaching. You know, people will message me occasionally, and I help people out online a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so they can just shoot you a DM on Instagram if they may be interested in that then? Okay, cool. All right, Blake, I really appreciate your time, man, okay? And appreciate you sharing your life story, your bodybuilding story. I'm looking forward to seeing what 2023 brings for you, all right?
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All of you who are tuning into this episode of Behind the Muscle Podcast, I just want to say thank you so very much. I appreciate all of you. I value all of you. If you have not hit the subscribe button on YouTube yet, make sure you do that. That's important, because I release all of these episodes first on YouTube, and then I'll distribute them to iTunes, Castbox, Podbean, and some of the other major podcast platforms. So if you want to stay up current on all the BTM episodes, make sure you are subscribed to BTM on YouTube. And then please take this episode with Blake, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Blake, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know that you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.